Yeah,
Yes,
now
for now.
for
Yes.
recording and okay. I think we'll get started. Okay. So this is our third class. Just a quick recap. Whatever the points we touch base in the day one and day two, we just understood the complete structure of controlling. What exactly it consists. We talked about overhead costing. We talked about product costing and COPA. So each module will go in detail on each category. So then to have the basic structure of the controlling, so very mandatory, there are certain things it is really required. That's a FI structure. So then we went with the concept of three company codes. So one with our main company, another two are sister concern. Then we understood the variants. We understood about chart of accounts. We touch base on the ledgers. Again, leading ledger, non-leading ledger, how it is important. So then we touch base on accounting principle. There's a one key concept is left now, the creation of the GLs. Again, that is an FI. But before going to the GLs, let's understand a few things on controlling. So when we are creating the cost element, so then we'll come back to the GLs, because when we have this kind of structure like operationals, group, and country specific chart of accounts, so definitely so the GL we should know more in detail. Okay. So let's get started on controlling on a very high level. So we discussed can I just go on mute, please? Okay. So what are the main components? Main components of controlling, we say. So we have the first one, we have cost element accounting. Second one, we have cost center. Again, the same structure, which is on a very high level. Okay, these are the very core topics of controlling. So we will have internal orders. Then fourth, product costing, and fifth one, COPA. So COPA, or we can call it as marginal analysis also. So everyone knows about some of the other points on these controlling components. Let's talk about few things on very high level. Again, when we go into deep into the concept, so I'll touch base on this COPA module also, just to understand what is COPA, why we use, the main purpose of COPA. This is just on highlights of COPA, since we didn't talk much about COPA on the initial overview. So what is the main purpose? So mainly this COPA, mainly mainly used for reporting. So if you guys are not speaking, can you just go on mute, please? Request. Mainly used for reporting. Okay. So basically in the organizations, we do this, sales minus cost. Okay. So finally we get profit. Okay. So again, in detail, if you look about the cost, there are many different types of costs are there. So we have conversion cost, conversion cost. We have material cost. We have material cost. We have overhead cost, and many more. Okay, and we can say marketing cost. All these cost, and finally we're gonna arrive the profit. Okay, so normally how we do when we are doing this COPA, the sales minus including all the costs, all type of different costs, and sales minus cost is equal to profit. We will arrive with EBT. We call it as earning, EBIT. So this is like earning before interest and tax. So then we will have the tax component. Okay, tax. Then we arrive with EBT. So then we will have interest minus again interest. interest. Then finally, we will arrive EAT. This we call it as net earnings. Okay. Basically, in the COPA, this is what we're gonna arrive. Okay. So what is our net earning? Okay. We'll go in detail when we have this COPA module. So basically, the COPA we can analyze. So we can analyze the profitability. So profitability of a product. Okay, of a product in different dimensions. Profit in different dimensions. We can have in different dimensions, like customer wise, country wise, sales organization wise, segment wise. So everything we will cover in detail. So just if anybody asks, like the COPA mainly is for reporting. So what we gonna do? So we want to arrive the profit. How we gonna arrive? Having all these conversion cost, sales minus all these conversion cost, and then finally we'll arrive a net earning. So this is what we're gonna do in the COPA. Okay. So on a high level, the first topic in very detail of controlling, we will start with the cost element accounting. The cost element accounting. We need to understand more on this, why these accounts are created. What are these? So first question comes, what are these cost elements? Cost elements are nothing but cost elements are nothing but cost carriers. Okay, it's a simple terminology. It carries the cost. Simple. Cost carriers is nothing but it carries the cost. Okay, question comes from where it carries, from FI to CO. Okay, simple. There are other cost carriers also, but as of now, till this point, you need to understand if there is a cost in FI, that cost will carry to CO. Okay, that's a reason we call it as on high level as a cost carriers. Okay, example. Let's go with an example. Example: salaries is a cost, wages is a cost, traveling expenses, okay, and rent, and these are all cost. Okay, so each cost which I'm talking about, salary, wages, traveling, each cost is one cost object or one cost element, we can call it as. Each cost is called each salary. For example, salary is a cost, is a cost, you can say cost element. Okay, what it does, it carry the cost. Okay, till here you understood. So what is cost element? Cost elements are nothing but cost carriers. What it does, it carry the cost from FI to CO. Okay, each cost here, whatever we are talking, is a cost element. Okay, question comes again, will all the expenses, these all are expenses, right? These all are expenses. So a question will comes, will all the expenses can be treated as, will all the expenses can be treated as cost element? Question answer is no, we cannot treat. Okay, so no, we cannot treat, we cannot treat. So then which are those? So very important, there is a very important, what is the main purpose of any cost elements, like you remember, like when management want to take some decisions, so they can take only decisions on operational cost. You remember, you maybe in your organizations or maybe in your journey you would have heard this: reduce the operation cost, reduce some cost, correct? Because where the only thing where you can reduce the expenses only on the operational cost, where management can make a decisions only on the operational cost. There are two types of cost. One is operational, the one is non-operational. So the question comes, which are the cost we can consider as a cost element? Only the operational expenses, right? That we can treat it as a cost elements. Whereas non-operating cost, we cannot treat it as a cost element because management can only make a decisions on the operational cost, not on the non-operational. See, here only management can make a decisions um, through the management can make a decisions in the operational cost. So you see the difference from ECC to S4 HANA, ECC to S4 HANA. There are some changes happen. Let's talk about something on ECC, how these cost elements were created. Maybe you would have remembered this like KA01. Okay. If you go to the KA01, where you will create the GL expenses, then you will need to select the relevant category. And this is for mainly for the primary cost. Whereas in the same ECC, you want to create something like secondary cost, where same process, KA06, you need to go to the separate transaction. So then you need to create secondary cost based on the GL account and selecting the relevant category. But in S4 HANA, this concept nowhere, no need to create. This cost element is like FI element. We call it as it's an FI element. What we do, this cost element we will create is it's very simple to understand. Cost elements are nothing but your GLs. Okay, just keep it in very simple terminology. The cost elements is nothing but GLs. Okay, in simple. Okay, so let's go into the S4 HANA system. I'll show you something practically, how we need to categorize what is operational, why we need to create non-operational. This is very important and very most basic for your the cost element category. Okay, let's go into the SAP. I'll show you something in practical. So the first question comes primary and secondary. You should be very aware of this, but let's go / FS00. And before showing into the GL, there are very three important things, while creating the GL accounts, right? In the GL accounts, while creating GL accounts, carries, I'll come back on this non-operational cost because you cannot make decisions. Only in the operationals only you can make a decision. For example, today you have some manufacturing activity. First you need to know operational and non-operational, which is something related to operational, where your cost is carried forward to the cost center where you are reporting. Non-operational is something like uh, what do you say, I'm not finding one example. I'll come back on this non-operational, but management want to make always decision on operational, not on non-operational. Okay, so GL account carries three types of data. Okay, three types of any GL account, it carries three types of data. The first one, it carries chart of account data. It carries company code data, and it carries controlling data. Okay, let's create a cost element. We will create a cost element. Okay, let's take salary. Okay, let's create one simple cost element as a salary. So let's later we will categorize whether it's a primary or a secondary. But to simple to understand this GL account, how to create the GL, what type of data it carries. To understand this, let's stick on to the cost element as a salary. Let's go to the FS00. Okay. So prior to this, I need to show you. So the chart of account data, you will create FSP0. You will create FSP0. You will create FSS0. And we have something like centrally. Okay. So it carries the cost of both FSP0, FSP0, plus FSS0. Okay, which is centrally. Now we will see that. So now the main objective, I need to create one cost element, salary. Okay. So first step, I need to create in the chart of account. First, I need to create a GL in chart of account. Okay, let's do it. Let's take this is my expense. Okay, this is my GL account. How this GL account will come, right? When we're defining our GL structure, you know,
Based
let
on
me,
accounting group.
yes. So we have created three GLs, I mean, chart of accounts. One is operational, group, and country specific. And since we are creating a GL in the chart of account, the two in group, okay, so we are selecting the document accounting groups, the number ranges. We have defined the number ranges. Based on that, we are taking this. Okay, FSP0 is a place where we will create the GL account under the chart of account. First, I want to create the group chart of account. Okay, let's define the GLs 4001. Okay, what I'm creating as a primary cost or revenue. Let's create this, then I'll explain why I have created like this. Okay, let's take salary. Salaries. So just save it. So I have created a GL in my group chat of account. Again, same, create a GL in operational chat of account. Okay, based on the number ranges, just select operating, primary and cost or revenue, select expense, salaries, salary, and now here the group account number you need to assign here, which you have created. Okay, just save it. So salary GL has been created under operational chart of account. Now create the same GL in your company code. So for that FS00, if you go to the FS00 here, if you want to create, see here, it is coming as a company code. Now you need to create your GL in your company code. Once you press enter, automatically the data picked, because first we have created our group chart, and then we have created the same GL account in our operational chart. Both are linked to our company code, correct? So once you enter the data, automatically this data comes. So now, very important, that's what I said. The GL carries the control data. See here, when you come here down, there is a cost element category. As I initially I said, first you need to decide, okay, I'm creating a cost element and it is a cost carrier. So then I decided, okay, I'm creating a GL as a cost and it should go to the CO. I want to transfer some cost to the CO, right? So then in that sense, keeping that as a logic, you need to create a GL. So this GL will act as a cost carrier. Okay. And this cost will carry from FI to CO and the link is here. So where you're defining the cost element category, you need to define if it is a primary cost, select 01. Okay. So then just go back to the bank and interest tab. Then you select the field status group, cost account. You can see cost account and just save it so that your salary account has been created. It is created as a cost element and this is a cost carrier and it carry the cost of FI to the CO, because here while you are defining your GL, you have selected a primary cost or revenue with the logic of controlling data as a cost element category as a 01, and this will carry the cost to from FI to CO. And additionally, when you're working in real time also, you come back and see the last CO information, where you can see here in the last stage, you can see your operational chart, and this operational chart is linked to your group chart in the first screen. Here, the GL's like group account, right? This will be linked. And since it is a company, HU10 is also linked to your country specific chart of account, and everything is linked to your controlling area. Everything you can see in the last, I mean, in the GL. So this is a core link. In the beginning of the class, I said, right, like, all the company codes should have same operational chart. And if there is a country following a specific, country specific requirement, then you will have a alternate chart with these logics, right? If you pull the report, all the data will be fetched. Okay. Understood here how to create the GL? Any question? Okay, if no questions, just let's go in deep now and understand. So just now we have created one cost element, right? Let's put up a clear structure of why and what is the important of primary and secondary cost element category, which we are discussing. Okay, so as I said here, so all the expenses can be treated as a cost element. So, but now we need to decide, okay, we are telling cost carriers. So we need to decide at the first level, okay, whether this is a primary cost or this is a secondary cost. So how to classify? Though SAP has given that functionality. So let's understand first what are primary cost element category, what it comes, and what are what are secondary costs. Simple, let's very basic, we will understand primary cost element. And these are the cost elements which carry the cost from FI to CO. Just simple one line answer. Primary cost, those costs, you will create those GLs, and whatever the cost, it carries from FI to CO. Let's go in the secondary cost. Understand secondary cost. Secondary cost. This is CO to CO. And this cost will carry within the CO. Okay, internal order to internal order, internal order to WIP, internal order to overhead cost, assessment cost, this will carry. But whereas in primary, it is FI to CO. So in the primary cost, there are few categories. We call it as category or a classification. If you say 0, 1, these are primary. These are primary cost. And if you classify them as 11, this is something like sales deduction. Sorry, this is revenues, sales deductions, revenues. I'm talking about category. Okay. 12 means sales deductions. Okay. And 22 is like external settlement. Okay. You remember like what I did here when while creation of a GL, if I come here and control data, I select the primary category as 1, and you can see it here only. So 11 is revenue, 12 is sales deduction, 22 is external settlement. Okay. Let's understand some more information in detail, like, what are these primary cost, you know. Okay. So let's talk about few points on this. Let's take, I'll take a pause here. Guys, you're understanding? I mean, pura silence, that's the reason I'm asking. Are you able to follow? Any questions so far? At least this in the real time. This is where we create our GLs. Any questions on the creation of GLs? If no, okay. But at least you understood because we have operational group, country specific. I know this is where you should create. Maybe sometime, maybe we will come and directly create FS00. We will come and start creating. No, this is not the right way to create the GL. This is where the GL, we are not creating a chart of account. We are creating GLs at company code level. Okay. But before doing this, we need to have our operational and group. That's main important. Okay. The right way of creation of a GL. Okay. Okay, let's go and understand. No, no, this we are talking about. Hmm, Vishnu, we are just talking about the primary cost. Secondary cost we need to create separately. Okay. So there you have a different categories. Okay. Let's focus on primary. I'll come back and I'll show you on the secondary cost also. Okay. Okay. And that one you will see it here. I'll show you. Wait 1 second because Vishnu has this question. If you come here, the GL account type, see here, the primary and secondary cost. If you select the secondary cost, and if you go in the cost element category, okay, hold on. If you just open it, since I've selected this, what you have to do at the beginning, you need to select secondary cost. Okay. Then you need to go to controlling data. You will see 41, 42, 43 assessment and everything. So the first question comes at the time of GL creation, you need to decide what type of GL you are creating, whether it is a primary cost or a secondary cost. Primary cost, we clearly said certain GLs where it should carry the cost from FI to CO. Then you will create under primary cost. Secondary cost are those GLs, the cost will carry within the CO from internal to WIP, from WIP to overhead cost, assessments, activity. So then you will select the secondary cost. Okay, let's go and see in the first one. So we talked about primary cost. Okay, so what are these? Like you know, primary cost means what? The expense GL. Basically, this is an expense GL. Okay, basically simple, very simple terminology. Expense GL or all the operational GLs. Like today, you are performing all the operationals, right? Operational GLs. We will we will be creating. Sorry, all the operational GLs. We will be creating all the operational GLs. We will be creating under this category. Clear this one? All the operational GLs. So you mentioned whatever the GLs are part of your operationals. So all this we will classify here in this TEG or category. Okay. Okay. Example, like again, simple example. So salary, wages, rent, rent. Okay. And sometime depreciation. Again, this all are like cost. You can do while you're creating the GLs, you should be very careful. Yes, I'm creating the operational GL. Then if you assign the 01 category under the controlling, so then it become a primary cost. Let's talk about 01. Let's talk about, okay, second. Hmm. Let's talk about 11. Uh, all the revenue GLs, like, all the revenue GLs, yes, will be created under this category. Okay. So example, you know, example. So the question comes like, why we want to create under this category? Like, see, as I said in the beginning, like, in order to perform the profitability, right? Profitability. Uh, in order to perform the profitability of a product, so we need the cost or revenue should move from multiple dimensions. Like, you analyze, what do you say, the revenue will flow to the CO, basically, like it flow the data. This is an FI, right? This FI revenues will flow to the controlling the CO. But in the multiple dimensions, when you want to analyze what is a profitability, what is the revenue, what we have earned, right? So system will perform multiple you know, what do you say, profitability of a product in multiple dimensions we will analyze. Like, we take we take the revenues from FI to CO, CO to CO, okay, CO to CO, and CO to FI. With all dimensions, we will analyze the profitability of a product. Okay. So this you will understand more when you understand the product costing, this one. Okay. So till here, till here you understand.
Yes, yes.
Let's talk about something on 12. So sales deductions. Sales deductions. Sales discount, sales discount, sales rebate, you know, any expenses, like, any expense GLs, it's a part of any expense GLs related to sales order. Okay. When you're creating any expense GLs which is related to sales order, you need to select the 12 as a cost element category. Okay. Understood this one? See, what see, system doesn't know, correct? What we are doing, so we are telling system. That's the reason the cost elements are the core logic of cost element. System itself decides, okay, this cost element is nothing but your GLs, okay? Basically understand, this is simple, this is GLs. So question number one, okay, these are GLs, but how do I classify whether it is a cost coming from primary or cost coming from secondary? So then we have this cost element category. So while creating a GL, you should be very careful and okay, I'm creating a GL expense and that is part of my operational. Then you will create under cost element category 01. If something related to revenue, so where you mention as 11, so you have something like GLs where you created as a sales discount, but that is part of your sales orders, then you need to create a cost element category 12. So with that, so system will understand, okay, this cost is coming from FI and going to the CO. There we can perform multi-dimension activities, reports, analysis, variance, everything will be performed, but the base is your cost element categories. Okay. Understood. This should be very carefully configured in the system. Okay. Let's the last one, like external settlement. External settlement. Okay. Sorry. So this one, very interesting one. Uh, this is to settle a value from CO to FI. Like all other cost objects which we are discussing now, we are talking about like, okay, FI to CO, FI to CO. But this one, external settlement, is something where you settle the value from CO to FI. There is some concept, you know, uh, AUC assets in the asset accounting. Anybody heard about this? And
Asset
fixed
under
assets.
construction.
Yeah, yeah, asset under constructions. You know, how this will work. Maybe not only AUC, but anything you take, something like internal orders. Okay, this is a CO object. Okay, internal orders. What management will do, they will create one internal order as a cost object. As I mentioned, right? What is a cost object? It carries the cost and all, correct? The main. So just imagine. So your company is constructing one building, okay, which is under construction. What system will do? We will maintain for this. Sorry. Okay. There is one internal order. What management do? They started building one building, which is under constructions. So for that, like, again, we'll have all the budget, okay, cost, everything is maintained. Budget maintained. Once the activity is completed, right, the building is completed. Once, just imagine activity is completed. So what we will do, asset is created, right? Like, we need to close the internal orders. So once we close the internal order, whatever the asset is there, right, the asset will get created in the system. Okay, asset will be created. created in the system. Once we created this asset, right, we will transfer all the cost to the asset. So we will transfer all the cost to the asset. From where? From CO to FI, because we are doing this in internal orders. So whenever you have such scenarios, we will create a GL with the help of 22 as an external settlement, and we will perform this activity. Okay. So uh, like to understand in detail, okay, we use this external settlement, right, to transfer all the cost to the asset. So how this will work? For example, let's take an entry. So you have a scenario like, how 90% of whatever the cost should go to asset, and 10% whatever it should go for cost center. Example, let's take an example of the GL 91000. Just an entry I'm passing to understand how system will go. Okay, to make it three. So when asset is completed, you asset is created in the system, you will transfer all the costs to the asset. So then the question, like, how you need to transfer? So 90% of whatever the cost is there, so then transfer to the asset, and 10% you send it to the cost center, like, the situation. So what we will post, like entry like debit asset, debit asset 910000. Okay, again debit cost center 92000. Credit internal order 91000. Credit internal order 92000. So what we are doing here, 90% of asset, 10% cost. We are transferring 90% to the internal order and 10% to the internal order. This is where your entry will come in the system when you perform this, like, external settlement. Okay. So for on high level, like, high level or in detail, like, what we understood is, like, primary, the cost elements or the cost categories, or where it just a recap of what we have done. Cost elements are nothing but like cost carriers. So what it does, it carry the cost from FI to CO. Again, when you're defining your GLs, you should be very careful. So we know the first objective, it carries the data from FI to CO, but which are those GLs, how the GL should be addressed, like based on the element category, cost element category, it decides. If it is a 0, 1, it is a primary. If it is 11, it's a revenue. If it is 12, it's a sales deductions. If it is 22, external settlement. Okay. And the same way we have it for secondary cost also. I'll take a pause. Any questions so far, guys?
No, we given 10% to cost center, no?
Correct.
Uh, where it will go means the 10%.
Which cost center you want to decide? You decide, like building. I mean, for building, you have decided one cost center, one GL you have created. So
Correct.
that cost center it will go.
That cost center final settlement in, suppose if I want to do P&L, whether
Mhm.
it is to go P&L expenditure or it will add to the asset.
It will add to the asset.
Okay.
Okay. We will see more in detail. Okay. That's just an example I said. Okay. You will understand more in the cost center. Okay.
Yes.
So understood. This is very basic, important way, because cost element is just
This
like a GLs. Yeah.
90%, 10% you bifurcated, right? That
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
from budget cost.
Then I'm just, yeah, I'm see, okay. In AUC, there are two types of settlements will be there. Like, when you're doing asset accounting, internal settlements and investment measures. Okay, when you are doing internal orders, when you are performing investment measures, there is something like distribution. Okay, distribution cycles, everything will be there. It's just an example. I said management will come up and say, okay, whatever cost was incurred, 90% put it on asset and 10% to specific cost center. They may come with these kind of scenarios. Based on that scenario, I've given this example. So
Yes,
it's
Vinod, I
just
have
an
one
example.
doubt.
Yeah.
What is the difference between internal order and WBS?
Again, it is two, what do you call, two big
I'm also a
concepts.
beginner. I
No, no,
heard that
and
one.
totally agree. I totally agree because that is two big concept. Internal order itself is a big concept. We'll cover all those stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Which and are scenarios we will use to these two?
See, I'll
Yeah.
tell you. In simple, very layman language, I'll try to explain. Put it one example. Uh, just imagine only. Okay, this is not something. Imagine your company is into event management. Okay, every in a week they're performing like 3 4 events. Okay, for every event, again, even though it's a service industry, definitely we need a PO approval, budget, cost, everything we need. Organizations sometime, again, right, to set up a PO process you should have some approvals, then it has to go to the second level approval, get the budget sanctions, then do the work. It cannot be in that way. There are certain activities where management will go for internal orders. Okay, so what they does, they'll create one cost object, whatever the expenses are incurred in that event, till the event completes, keep on posting those expenses to that cost centers or cost element or cost object. Once the event is completed, right, they will close that internal order and they'll get all the cost and properly accounted in the system. If you look at very deep into the internal orders, AUC assets, it's a best example. In AUC assets, asset under construction, so definitely there will be so many cost or incurred. What they will do, so you know they will create one AUC assets with the investment uh, category. There's a two side line item settlement and investment measures. So with that, there is an automatic process is there in internal order. Once they create internal order, once the AUC asset is completed, right, so internal order will get closed. Immediately the asset will be created in the system. Whatever the cost incurred, right, that will transfer to the asset. Then your capitalization, depreciation, everything will start. Okay, so again, it's a short term, in term, like where company follow these internal orders to record the cost. They want to, uh, PO process cannot work, some process, so they go with the internal orders to just to monitor and track the cost. Okay, the WBS is something like work breakdown structures. That is a big projects, phase wise projects. Like for example, Prestige, they're constructing some township. You cannot code, you cannot create the what do you call POs. You cannot follow detailed level of cost estimation and all. What they will do, they'll go with the phase wise, phase one, phase two, phase three, then they break down the structures. There is some process followed in WBS. Okay, that you will understand very slowly. But on high level, this is what the core logic involves in internal orders and WBS elements. Clear?
Yes. Okay, understood. Clear.
Yeah. Okay, so if you understood this, these are the main things. Like, while you're creating a GLs, you should pay attention in creating these GLs. Okay, in the secondary cost category, so we have 21 internal settlement. So we have 31. So WIP, result analysis, 41. Overhead cost element, ELM element, 42. Assessment cost element. 43 activity. Say cost allocation. Okay. Okay. So I'll take a pause here. Uh, any questions so far? Because I'm not keeping well. I couldn't take breathe also some feeling difficulty. I'll take a pause here. Can we continue tomorrow? If not, if you're okay with that, but I'll spend some time. Meaning any doubts are there till here, I can cover up because these concepts it'll take another more deep because I need to explain. These are the main thing because primary is like FI, but people not know about the secondary cost. We need to discuss more on the secondary cost. Okay. So if you don't mind, can I take tomorrow?
Yeah, yeah, Vinod. I think you just take care of yourself. Okay, we can definitely connect tomorrow. Yeah,
Yeah,
no
but
issues.
before, yeah, thanks.
Here, Vinod, I joined
Yeah,
lightly. What
yeah, please.
presently briefly I'm asking about, we are discussing of cost center accounting only, no? Here.
Still, we have not touched anything. Cost. We
Okay.
are talking about controlling. In the controlling, this is what the structure. We are talking
Uh,
about overhead cost, product cost, and profitability. But before going into these overhead cost, there is something like cost element. Actually, this is a
mhm.
FI element. This is cost element is nothing but your GLs only, but that is a base for your cost centers, internal orders, and everything. You know, without cost elements, you cannot do all these things. That's the reason I'm just giving a heads up on the cost element. Okay, so first we need to understand cost element, then we will pitch into the cost centers and internal order, and it'll go like this.
Like
Okay.
this, like a profit center accounting and product cost and
Yes,
standard cost
material
and
ledger, yes, material ledgers, everything in detail, like MTO scenarios, everything will go in
uh,
detail. You
one
tell
more
me.
thing I need to know. What is
Yeah.
the difference in future? Also, I want to know about the ECC and S4HANA. What is the differences in next class? Not now.
Okay.
That only I require.
No, no, that's okay. See, my only suggestion, uh, yeah, we should know about ECC. Like now, in all the
Uh,
projects, majority companies also, you already know, right?
uh,
Companies shedding on that the ECC. Okay, but
they will ask main question is what is the difference in the ECC to S4HANA in the cost center controlling? That is the main important.
no, no. In regarding what cost centers, very, I need to understand.
Regarding controlling module,
Uh-huh.
each element, what is the
Uh-huh.
difference in each area? Like a
From
cost center
ECC
account,
to S4.
S4HANA. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
that's why.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
That
In the
also, if
interview
you
point of view,
used to
is
cover
there
means
is.
it
Yeah,
will
yeah.
be help
Mm-hmm.
us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. See, okay, that also we can cover. But the thing is, when you're understanding, right?
Uh,
Just take a pause for ECC. Just focus just only on the S4 HANA because
okay.
a lot of advancements happening. Like the one advancement, like the GL part. This is a biggest example. Okay, see
Okay.
here. Earlier this functionality was not there for us. Okay, where you have balance sheets and P&L, only two things was there in ECC. As for HANA, they come up with that's what I said, the cost element. When we are talking, it is a FI. Okay, why it is FI? Here only at the beginning stage only we can define, okay, whether it is a primary cost, whether it is a secondary cost.
Second.
Okay, if you are defining something as a primary cost, then it makes clear indication this is an FI cost will carry to the CO. If you classify GL as a secondary cost, it is purely within the CO, within CO. It has nothing to do with FI. Okay, to understand that we are here. So we are understanding the cost element categories, how to create the GLs, which category if you assign. So sometime what happen, you want to do some external settlement. If you not creating this cost element category, system will throw an error because it will fail to understand what is this cost. You have a GL, everything cost element category. If you are not defined, it create an inconsistency. Okay, so to understand that, we need to go through these procedures. Meaning, this is what the subject, I mean, not a subject, because this is important. You need to understand primary, how to create. If I assign 1, what is the cost? If I assign 11, what will have an impact? And similarly for secondary cost also, that's what I said. Primary cost is a GL account, it is an FI, the data will move to CO. Same way for secondary also, which is CO to CO. So some data in internal settlement, some GLs will be there, then you have to move the cost from result analysis. within the CO, and this is FI to CO. Okay. So we'll cover all those things, but see, I can tell you that ECC and S4HANA, maybe at the last you can have that summary, but now just focus, just only think about S4HANA. It is later you will only summarize what is so different, because the big change happened at the beginning level only, the GL classification. This is a big change from ECC to S4HANA. Okay, if you go in detail on the each module, I mean each topic, we will get a lot of scenarios. Wherever possible, definitely I'll show you. I'll explain. So to answer your question, the first step, ECC to S4 HANA, at the GL classification level only, HANA has made a lot of improvements. It decides here only. Okay,
Okay.
but this
Okay.
functionality is not there. In
Yeah.
interview point of view also, you can say this, like, there's a lot of, advancements. It decides whether how the cost, if this functionality was not there, see, we would have struggled a lot. Just go KA01, you need to create here somewhere, I just mentioned here, go to create KA01 for primary cost, go to other transaction KA06 for secondary cost. Too many time consuming. But here, system itself giving clarity. Okay, you are creating primary cost, go with this. You are creating secondary cost, go with this. When you select this GL account type in the controlling area, you will have the exact category where exactly you need to fit this GL. See here, internal settlement assessment. Just keep building it. In that way it goes in advanced level. Okay.
Yeah, Vinod, agree.
Good, no problem. I'll try to help you out. Okay, so at least just one question I need to ask and a feedback, and at least are you able to overview? You can see some visualization. Um, Maybe you would have attended many sessions, or like see, you need to give the true feedback. You know, so that I can come up with best examples or something I can change in my way of teaching. Anything is possible, but true feedback is needed. But my objective is to give the complete you know understanding, so that, because CO is something people should know, everyone should know in detail. Otherwise a lot of inconsistencies will be there in the real time. you know so I'm just expecting feedback. Do you need more info? Because this 1 or 2 days, it will be like, once you go into the system, see, there are two things are very much important when you're learning CO. Conceptually you should know, and technically you should apply in the system. Without these two, it won't work. In deep, you need to understand. We have a lot of time. I mean, 140 hours or 120 hours, more than 120 hours. Let's understand each scenario, simple, so that you can excel in interviews or in your work life. So, any suggestions for me so that I can come up with few things? I'll make a note. Only for today, huh? I just need some 30 minutes because back to back calls was there. I couldn't manage. Am I audible? Any feedback, guys?
Yes, is it audible? But
Yeah.
time being, it's good for us. We
Okay.
are able to understand.
You are
And,
able to understand. See, I don't
and
want big
communication
deep.
also good
Yeah,
compared
yeah,
to
that's okay.
what we have understood previous
Mm.
other institutions.
No, no, no problem. Maybe I don't want to go with, even I'm also average in speaking. That's okay. But what I mean is, the opponent person should understand. I don't want to put big English. It doesn't require simple English. Everyone should understand. Slowly we will learn, because once you learn this activity, I'll tell you guys, like, when you know real time. Today also, today, I'm a account. I mean, my objects are like accounting and controlling. Since I finished my task in the client side, they assign SCM, supply chain management. They ask me to perform material planning, plan something like planned MRP monitoring, some different task, which is I was out of clueless, but still they said, please handle, please support. This kind of request will come from the customer side. Okay, so that time we need to do a lot of R&Ds on other modules and start working, because once the client will get confidence, yes, this guy can really perform, you will be have more and more opportunities to learn other modules. Okay, that was new requirement completely. It's out of deviating my complete experience, but still we need to do from everything, right from material, plant, everything. We need to do research and start, doing implementations and data migration. So only request is when you're understanding something, understand thoroughly, so that no need to ask anybody in the work. You can drive yourself. That's only the point. My main point. Okay. So if no questions,
One more thing, is it
yes,
mandatory
please.
to activate material ledger for the S4HANA?
Yes, it's mandatory. Without that, we can't perform. It is mandatory. Not
Yeah.
at this moment, not at
No,
initial
not
stage. Yeah,
movement.
yeah.
As for S4HANA
Yes,
control.
yes, mandatory. Without that, there are so many. Without that, we can't proceed further. It's a mandatory.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Maybe later on we can see why it's mandatory. What are
Yeah,
the
yeah,
impacts if
yeah,
it
yeah. Yes, everything. Yes, everything. Everything. Slowly, because it takes time. But yes, we'll cover it slowly. Slowly, we'll cover all the scenarios. Okay. Any
Okay.
questions?
Thanks, Vinod.
No problem. Okay. Thank you. If no
Yeah,
questions,
take care.
then
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tomorrow
Bye.
also the same time, no?
Same
9:30.
time, same time. Yes, yes. Same time. We'll connect at 9 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a great day. Yeah. Chalo, bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye bye.
Vinod.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you, Vinod. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.